How do we make Americans less wasteful? How do we make them more grateful? How do we make those in the developed world more grateful? How do we make people in the developing world more grateful? There is a lack of empathy, understanding, appreciation, and gratitude in our world. We have so much, and there's so much waste, or there's so much of it being applied to the world in such a fashion that it's destructive. We have so much sugar. We have an obesity epidemic. We have so much entertainment that we have a neglect of physiological health. And this, I suppose, goes hand in hand or hand to mouth with the obesity epidemic. We're such a sedentary society. We know that that has major impacts on long-term health. Why? Because we're not flexing. That's one thing that I think that these can do. These can be used to enable a player of the game to constantly be required to activate those stabilizer muscles. The micro contractions that are almost too subtle to be aware of. Except that's what balance is. Balance is that awareness of the central self. This is offering. This is making an offering to the gods. Why is that making an offering to the gods? Because it's taking your lungs and your cardiac system and it's expanding on the inhalation. So it's giving you a flexion. It's reversing how most people are taught to inhale. That is how you want to inhale. If you have a centralized source of activation, if you have the posture to support that, which is why I say some people are posturally privileged. It's not their fault. It's not the fault of the people who self-handicap because they want to look cool, they want to be curious, they want to be intensely competitive. That was my problem. And I came up in the era in which there were a number of professional athletes who ended up getting injured and partially paralyzed because of the way in which they were not just taught to grow, but the way in which they tackled, the way in which they were promoted to pursue the archetypes, to pursue these different muscular, spinal, different musculoskeletal shapings and interrelationships in different dimensions to protect the central nervous system. That's the end goal of all of our muscles. We are trying to protect that which is within us. And as we do that, we are continually trying to can form and expand from these points of our natural dimensional alignment. That is how you sensitize yourself to these different relationships, all of which have some impact on every other part of you. Every other part of you is altered with the angular changes that there's a self that's coordinating your mind and your body and your thinking, and they're not all powerful. But you can control more. You can choreograph more. And all that you're doing is you're choreographing your eyes, you're choreographing your tongue, you're choreographing your face, you're choreographing, and you're doing that by sensitizing yourself. You're doing that by actually physically touching yourself, by manipulating yourself, by creating the inertia to awaken your sensory systems. This system needs to be used more. I don't know, if you have some ideas for me about how I can change up the way in which I'm marketing this that might be more effective, please let me know. Because I think that I need to get capital so that I can start paying people to take the lumber that I buy or that they buy, and I can give them a guaranteed payout per uThrone, per piece of production, per the amount of wood, per the amount and the type of lumber that's used. A lot goes into these, there's no doubt. It takes a lot of time and electricity to, route them and to drill the pocket holes and to plane them and then to screw them and then maybe to glue them. And if you're doing it on one of these, you've got twice as much work because you're doing it on two different pieces. Pain designed these. Pain and discomfort, chronic pain. Pain for living in a world that is not designed for someone my size, which is just a little bit tall, which means I got to move a little bit further down than most people, a little bit more often. This is why people who are taller than the height that is average pushing to contact, pulling from contact, getting contact and then twisting, changing the sequence, sharing the force of gravity, changing the angles, changing the gaze. Using the polar opposites. Moving them in time, moving them in the opposite direction, moving one really quickly, fluttering your hand while the other one is stable, making these small circles while the other one's moving at a different rate. What are you looking at? Look at your hand. Turn your hand back. Look at your palm. Look at your... Sharing the weight all the time. Each action, each muscular flexion that moves something is a bit of force going in the opposite direction of gravity. The center line needs to be absorbing the force of gravity 90% of the time. And I mean the center of gravity on the back, the center of gravity in the front. That's why wearing a cape is something that's like a healthy thing, you know? Because it gives us that constant force. That's one of the benefits of clothing. It gives us a constant amount of force that's greater than the air. It gives you a greater amount of friction that's greater than the air. That needs to be a stage in the training process of every human physiology, period. At every level of development. That needs to just become the standard for human existence, I would argue. And I'd argue that from a podium throne. You see how far I had to take that? I don't need to do this. But that was such a sustained, even when I'm trying to like, understanding what needs to be relaxed, what can be relaxed without causing excessive pressure on a different region of the body. Line it up with your foot, line it up with your leg, line it up with that, line it up with your hand. Now, where do they want to go? You see, these lines, these curves will be found. These lines and these curves, they will be found, I promise. It's just a matter of the effort being expended to discover them. And the transition of the effects of gravity on our musculature. And that is something that can never be duplicated, because all of the commands are based on the unique foods that we have consumed and that our digestive system is breaking down into their constituent vitamins and cellular nutrients that need to be sent and delivered. So it's like they're prime packages. These are prime nutrients. Thanks for watching. I love you, I love you, I love you. I hope this is helpful. Until the next time.